Ito umano ang economic agenda ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand D. Bongbong Marcos Jr., ang matiyak na wala ng magugutom na Pinoy. Sa maikling panayam kay Marcos kasama si dating Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, iginiit nito na ang pag-alis sa kagutuman ay parang simpleng layunin pero kinakailangan ng maraming pagsusumikap. It requires a great deal of effort and thinking on the part of the public sector. Well, to put it very simply, I've been asked what is the absolute end result that we are hoping to achieve, and it's very simple for me, not one more hungry Filipino, dagdag pa ni Marcos sa ginanap na event sa Asia Society in New York. Sinabi rin ni Marcos ang kahalagahan ng pakikipag-partner sa pribadong sektor para masolusyonan ang kakapusan sa asukal at tumataas na presyo ng pangunahing bilihin. Gayon din ang pag-improve ng agricultural productivity at pagbabawas ng burokrasya para matiyak na magiging maayos ang serbisyo ng gobyerno. We hope to leverage whatever it is that the government can do to maximize the effects of what development we are able to encourage and to the benefit of those who have come to help us, our partners, our investors, and of course to the benefit of the ordinary Filipino, ayon kay Marcos. Kinakailangan din aniyang maghanap ng bagong solusyon ang gobyerno. The pandemic basically has changed everything. We live differently, we work differently, we study differently, our social contacts are done differently. We don't want to just catch up. We want to go beyond that. We have no interest in going back to pre-pandemic levels, dagdag ni Marcos.
Nakabalik na sa bansa si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos mula sa kanyang working visit sa Amerika. Matapos umattend ng UN General Assembly, nakipagpulong din siya sa business groups doon. Ayon sa Pangulong, maganda ang kinalabasan ng kanyang biyahe. May ulat si Chrissy Di Matulak.
Matapos ang 16 na oras na biyahe mula Estados Unidos, nakabalik na si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, dala ang ulat tungkol sa kanyang working visit at pagdalo sa United Nations General Assembly. Sa kanyang arrival speech sa NAIA, ikinuwento niya ang pakikipagkita sa Filipino community sa New York na nagmula pa sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Hilagang Amerika. Iniulat din ng Pangulo ang mga isyung kanyang tinalakay sa 77th session ng UN General Assembly.
I addressed global issues that require a united global action, such as climate change, rising food prices, rapid technological change, the peaceful resolution of international disputes, the need to protect the vulnerable sectors of our society, such as migrants, and ending all forms of prejudice. I also shared our experience in the BARM peace process, boosting agricultural productivity and promoting human rights through the UN Joint Program on Human Rights. And I reiterated the Philippines' belief in the primacy of the rule of law as embodied by the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
Nais ng Pangulo na mas pagtibayin ang pakikipag-ugnayan ng Pilipinas sa United Nations dahil sa papel nito sa pananatili ng kapayapaan sa mundo. Nagkaroon din ang Pangulo ng bilateral meetings kasama ang mga lider ng Estados Unidos at Japan. Sa kanyang keynote address sa New York Stock Exchange at Philippine Economic Briefing, sinabi niyang nangako ang business leaders sa Estados Unidos na magiging parte sila ng pagpapalago ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas.
There will be, I believe, good news to share in the next few months, particularly in terms of their plans to expand and further broaden their investment footprint in our country. Our discussion with the U.S. business community affirms the optimism with which international investors view the Philippines today.
Bago umuwi, tumungo ang Pangulo sa roundtable discussion kasama ang Asia Society kung saan nagbigay ito ng public lecture tungkol sa mga oportunidad at hamon na kinakaharap ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos. Sinabi rin ng Pangulo na ang pagpunta niya sa Estados Unidos at pagharap sa United Nations ay isang positibong umpisa sa mga aasahang proyekto at programa para sa taong bayan.
And their important role in the work ahead. I also emphasize that by working together, we can build a better future for our country and our people. The main event of this visit to the United States, to New York specifically, was to deliver our national statement at the 77th session of the General Assembly on 20 September in the United Nations. In my speech, I articulated the role we see for the Philippines working with the United States, the United Nations, in building a brighter future for our people and a safer and more just world for us all. I addressed global issues that require a united global action, such as climate change, rising food prices, rapid technological change, the peaceful resolution of international disputes, the need to protect the vulnerable sectors of our society, such as migrants, and ending all forms of prejudice. I also shared our experience in the BARM peace process, boosting agricultural productivity and promoting human rights through the UN Joint Program on Human Rights. And I reiterated the Philippines' belief in the primacy of the rule of law as embodied by the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. I also met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and we reaffirmed the necessary partnership between the Philippines and the United Nations. The Philippines is a founding member of the United Nations, and I intend to strengthen this tradition of Philippine engagement with the UN. I expressed interest in enhancing our role in UN peacekeeping operations, especially in the areas such as the Middle East, where we have a large concentration of OFWs. I also extended an invitation to the Secretary General to visit the Philippines in the near future. During the conference in the United Nations, I also held formal and informal bilateral meetings with leaders of our key partners, such as the US, such as Japan, and I shared with them the priorities of the Philippines to work with them in addressing food and energy security and climate change, amongst other many issues. Our discussions were very productive, and the members of the Cabinet will now work to operationalize the many areas of cooperations that we identified. I met also with a number of business leaders from different US companies during the week, and all of them committed to be a part of our development and economic growth. Together, we will be working on addressing some of our key economic challenges, particularly, once again, climate change, food security, energy security, to name but a few. There will be, I believe, good news to share in the next few months, particularly in terms of their plans to expand and further broaden their investment footprint in our country. Our discussion with the U.S. business community affirms the optimism with which international investors view the Philippines today. I also delivered a keynote address at the New York Stock Exchange and at the Philippine economic briefings, which drew institutional investors, senior corporate executives, fund managers, and entrepreneurs. At these meetings, I shared with them our vision for the future and how important it was to address the key challenges that continue to constrain the development of our economy. I also informed them about how we intend to deal with some of the fundamental problems in our food, energy, and broader economic security. I also emphasized the importance of peace and stability in the region and the important role of great powers like the United States, so that developing countries like the Philippines can have the space to achieve growth potentials. It was thus an honor to ring the closing bell on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange at exactly 4 p.m. in the afternoon of September 19th. Our delegation also hosted 4 CEO roundtable discussions that dealt with key economic sectors such as IT BPM, digital infrastructure, global brands, particularly in garments and apparel, and, of course, industry and infrastructure. I was joined by the economic managers and other cabinet members in brainstorming with these U.S. companies, some already present and others intending to be in the Philippines. We identified the opportunities and challenges to our achieving our common objectives of growth and development in various areas. I thank them for their candid and constructive comments, and I look forward to working with them on the issues and agreements that we identified. My final stop before returning home last night was with the Asia Society, where I had a roundtable discussion with a select group of leaders of the U.S. business community on the state of the global and regional economy today. After the discussion, I delivered a public lecture where I shared my views on the opportunities, the threats, and challenges facing Asia, the United States, Asia-Pacific region, and all our neighboring countries today. I also spoke about my administration's priorities and plans for the next 6 years. And the engagement with the Asia Society was a fitting end to a week in the UN and the United States that had one singular message. The time to invest in the Philippines is no longer just sometime in the future. It is now. We in the Philippine delegation are one in our assessment that the work done in this trip serves as a good start for opportunities identified to be made into programs and projects to benefit the Philippines and our countrymen. And so the work continues, but I am happy to report that we have had a very good and strong start to our efforts. Thank you and good morning.